This is an R Media podcast.
I actually solve my renovation problems in my sleep. So, like, for example, if I've got something where I'm not sure how something's going to come together, I solve it in my sleep. It's really bizarre. Or I'll come up with really great design ideas in my sleep.
So do you have a notepad beside your bed, or
No,
how
I'll
do
just,
you?
I'll just get up and start doing them.
We're back with part 2 of my chat with Cherie Barber. If you're rejoining us after listening to part 1, welcome back. And if you haven't already listened to part 1, scroll back up in your feed, listen to part 1, and then join me here again. Though her expertise is in renovating for profit, Cherie Barber's current project is more personal. After 30 plus years of buying and selling, she's putting everything she knows, plus a few new lessons learned, into a modern farmhouse located in Western Sydney, a place where she spent the first part of her life. This next chapter involves rethinking a 600 square metre floor plan, why she wakes up at 3:30 every morning, and what it's like living next door to your builder. Cherie also shares a wild story about the time she almost bought Elvis Presley's honeymoon home and reveals the greatest property regret of her life. I would love for you to take us on an audio tour of the farmhouse as you see it completed.
Yeah.
So if you walk through the front door and the farmhouse is all ready to go,
Yep.
what does it look like? What do we see?
Okay, so as we're walking up to the house, it's long. So it's about 70 metres long, the front facade.
Yeah.
So quite different to most houses,
Yeah.
but it's not an overly deep house. The current window, the old house had little tiny windows. This house is full of floor to ceiling glass windows. So you've got 3.9 metre walls.
Wow.
And then the ceilings reaching up to 8 metres high. Beautiful big gable, exposed rafters.
That is incredible.
Big floor-to-ceiling glass
Yeah.
windows. It's a modern farmhouse style mixed with modern mid-century, because I'm obsessed with everything from the 50s, 60s, 70s. So it's going to have the farmhouse vibe, which suits the rural sort of acreage property, but mixed with the modern mid-century. And those two styles work really well together.
They do.
It's got lots of earthy colours, so sort of going back, nothing polished, nothing manufactured. So there's no shiny chromes or anything like that. It's all terracottas, chocolate browns, greens, colours of the earth. So, and it's so beautiful, like there's so many trees and the rolling hills there that I wanted the indoors to feel like, you know, the outdoors coming inside. So, lots of greens. And in fact, I've actually taken my colour inspiration from the bark of the trees out there. So
Have you?
I looked at the trees. I think that's a good tip for people.
Yeah.
Like if they're wanting like a home that feels very relaxed and natural and organic, look to the colours in nature. So I literally looked at the trees, and you know sometimes how bark peels off trees?
Yes.
It reveals the most amazing colours. So you get like your browns, your greys, your creams, so I'm
Definitely.
using that as the colour palette for inside the house.
What a wonderful idea. So what do you need from this house? How many bedrooms? Do you have multiple living rooms, or is it open plan?
Yes, you just raised a really interesting point. So it's myself and my hubby living in the house, and then obviously my daughter will live in the guest house.
Yeah.
That's her little house. And when she moves out, it will become a guest house. And that's only 60 square metres, like the average size of a granny flat.
Yeah.
But on the main house, it's big. It's 600 square metres. And it is way too big.
Enormous.
Yeah. Way too big. It's excessive for what two people need. So we will have a lot of bedrooms that just don't get used.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's the suburb expectation. So in that suburb of Mulgoa, the average house is most houses are between 400 to 500 square meters to 1,000 square meters in size. So if I didn't build a house, I'm at the lower end, 600 square meters. But if I came in and built a house that was maybe, say, only 200 square meters, I would absolutely get crucified on the property value.
Yes.
It would become a buyer objection when I ultimately sell. And I will ultimately sell because I never sort of stay in one spot forever.
Yeah.
When it comes time that I will ultimately sell that property, it'll be a major buyer objection. They'll say this house is just too small. So it's a shame, really. And I sort of thought about that. I thought, well, it's incredibly sort of wasteful sort of building a house. It's expensive to build the house for a lot of it that I'm not going to be using. But I know that ultimately it won't be my forever home. I'll stay there definitely maybe a year or 2 or 3. Yeah. I don't know. Who knows?
So that's a really good insight into when you are renovating or building, how do you choose where to put your personality and what you want, and what decisions do you make for resale? Because so often people will just everything painted white and let's just prepare it for sale, but then they might live in it for 10 years.
Yeah, this is the big difference between renovating for profit and renovating your own home. Like, one is based on return on investment.
Yes.
The numbers.
Yep.
And renovating your own home is based on emotion.
Yeah.
So what I tell my students, for example, a lot of my students will buy their own home and they'll renovate that first. Mm-hmm. They'll create equity in that. Mm-hmm. They don't have separate living expenses, so they might live in their renovation project. They might do it a room at a time, or, they might live in the front of the house and do a structural add-on alteration extension at the rear. So I always say to them, renovate that home, even though this is going to be a home that you might live in for the next 5 or 10 years. Renovate it so in a way that it's not polarizing in any way. Yeah. Renovate it to the market. Renovate it so that if something changes tomorrow, you get sick, your hubby gets sick, something happens and you've got to do a shift, that property is easy to sell. But instead, to make it feel like your own home, paint it the colours that make you happy, because paint is such an easy thing to change. Knocking out walls, putting structural beams in, that's time-consuming, expensive, council approval. Don't do that, right? So just, get the structure right.
And the floor plan to suit the area.
The floor plan, you got to make it functional, you got to make it practical. So all those basic things you've got to do. But in terms of personalising it, paint it to the colours that, make you happy, and then really use styling to the styling, things that bring you joy, to make it feel like home. Yeah. Obviously, I've worked on the show Space Invaders for the last 6 years, so we're a decluttering show, and I can't tell
I love that show.
Do you?
Yes.
Yeah. It's very popular. But you know what? A lot of people collect stuff, and that stuff doesn't make them happy. No. So I work with Peter Walsh, who I absolutely adore. He's one of my, really good friends, and he has a really great saying that everything that you bring into your home should bring you joy. Yeah. And get rid of the stuff that doesn't bring you joy, because otherwise it's just clutter, and clutter bogs you down. And clutter is hard to keep clean and makes your spaces feel, not as freeing.
That's true. Do you have stuff?
I have no stuff. You know what? Since I've been working on Space Invaders, I've become very conscious about what I buy now. So I was sort of the sort of person that I would just, if I saw something that I love, I'd buy it and not really think about it. Yeah. And I've never been a hoarder or anything. Far from it. I'm that person that sort of has a home that's more like a show home.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about you in the home and how you live. I'll ask some questions and just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Yeah. So, something you always have fresh in your home.
Fresh fruit.
Yes, absolutely.
I know that's really boring.
No.
Fresh veggies. I eat a lot of veggies. Yeah. So I do every week. I just go to the supermarket. We've got a little old-fashioned fruit and vegetable shop where I'm doing the property. So I just go and buy a big box of fruit and veggies and literally just go buy a couple of dozen organic eggs and some goat cheese. And that's my diet. So I have veggies for breakfast, normally veggies for lunch and dinner, and
that's fabulous.
I know it sounds really boring. Obviously, I go out.
Yeah. So what about things like shoes on or off?
shoes on, work boots on. Yeah, I've always got clumps of dirt around my house because I walk in from site, particularly when it's been muddy, and I wipe my feet on the mat, but often you'll find these clumps of boots. They get stuck in the soles of your work boots. Yeah, so I'm always sweeping those up.
Do you like to have people over, or do you prefer to go to other people's homes?
I prefer to go out to venues, or restaurants. I'm quite a quiet person. I know you probably find that hard to believe, but I'm always talking in my job. And so I like being a public speaker, being a TV presenter, being on site all the time. Literally my jaws do not stop.
I know. I hear this more often than people would expect. For example, Darren Palmer, we were having a chat and he said he's an introvert. And I said, how does that work? And he said, well, if I'm filming, I'm behind a camera. If I'm presenting, I'm on a stage, and I'm not with everybody. And I feel that is quite common for people who are in the public eye, that they are introverts.
We're exactly out of the same mold. It is. And my hubby is quite social.
Yeah.
And then when I get home from work, he just wants to chin wag. And I'm just so normally we jump into bed and then we'll talk, but then I fall asleep 5 minutes later. So he says I'm mega boring. But I love just quiet. The only time I'll get really peace and quiet in my life is I get a bath every morning. So I get up at 3:30 every morning. So I'm normally in the bath at 4. And I'll just sit in the bath for about 15 minutes, and that's my time for me. So I literally, especially in winter when it's so cold.
Oh, it's a good way to warm up.
I just have the water, so it's scorching hot. I inch myself in, and then I just sit there. So I love that. I just love not having to speak to anybody at that time in the morning, and my brain is on at that time. And as the days goes on, I get more dopey.
Is that why you get up at 3:30? Because that you are...
The brain's on.
The brain's on.
I actually solve my renovation problems in my sleep. So for example, if I've got something where I'm not sure how something's going to come together, I solve it in my sleep. It's really bizarre. Or I'll come up with really great design ideas in my sleep.
So do you have a notepad beside your bed, or
I'll just get up and start doing them. So I'm up my builder who's working with me on my current project, he just happens to live next door.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, and so he was like, oh, I could see the lights on at 2:00 this morning. What were you doing? And I'm I was working. I was doing emails.
Well, the question is, what are we doing?
Yeah. So, it's good. I don't have, my friends are always welcome at my house. And as I've got older too, I've sort of made a conscious decision to have less friends as well.
Yes.
Because you're just busy and time is short, and so I'd rather have less friends. I can sort of count my true friends on one hand now, and I'm actually really happy with that. So I'd rather invest my energy and time in those people.
Definitely.
And have really solid quality relationships.
Yeah.
Than have lots of people. I know lots of people, but they're not sort of the people that I would, if I had a problem, I would call on. So, I've just sort of reached that stage where, I don't know, maybe it's maturity or
I think so.
Slowing down a little bit. I've just made that decision. So I do love just being home and not talking to anybody.
Oh, so do
That's
I.
my relaxation.
Yeah. I can't believe Cherie solves reno problems in her sleep. We'll be back in a bit. Is there a design trend or an architectural style that you wish would come back?
I've never been one to follow trends because trends come and go.
Yeah.
And it's always something that I've said to my students around the country, don't follow trends.
Yeah.
Create a scheme that is, if you're renovating a house, particularly if you're renovating for profit, you've got to renovate to the market, renovate to what the expectation is on that suburb. But for me, as I've said, I'm just psycho obsessed with mid-century, and so I'll just look for any excuse to go vintage shopping. I go to Palm Springs at least once a year. I almost bought the Elvis Presley honeymoon house in Palm Springs.
Did you?
Yeah, so I did this. It's a funny story. Have we got time?
Yes, of course.
So I went to visit my friend Peter Walsh. He lives in Australia in Palm Springs half the year.
Yeah.
So I went to see him, and I found out that the Elvis Presley honeymoon house was for sale. And because I'm like a kid in the candy store with property, so I went and saw the house, but they wanted some crazy price. It was like US $12 million. So it was just way out of my price league. And so I literally just saw the house, loved it, flitted away, flew back to Australia, and then I just watched the listing over the course of a year and a half. So like went 11 million, 10 million, 9.5. Like it just kept going boom, 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 boom,
It's
down.
like a game show.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. Anyway, so then it got down to 3.5 million US, and then I flew over. I was like, okay, game on.
Okay.
So then I went over, like, did a really detailed inspection of the house. And then I sort of worked out with the currency. The currency wasn't great. So it was going to be like US 4.9 million. And I was like, I don't need that house.
Yeah.
It would sort of like mess me up a little bit for my investment strategy. I would have had to have sold a couple of properties here in Australia. And I thought, this is really not the smartest thing to do, but I loved the house. And I thought, you know what, it's okay to like maybe buy a property that doesn't make financial sense. That's not all about return on investment. That's for fun. So, and I thought, you know what, I really want to restore this house back to its former glory. There'd been some unsympathetic renovation changes to it. And I thought, okay, I'm the person to bring this house back. So I thought I might rent it out, Airbnb, so lots of people in America could enjoy the Elvis Presley honeymoon house. Anyway, cut a long story short, but I didn't really want to pay 3.5 because it was like $5 million. And I just thought that would have been, I would have had to have sold a really good property here to buy that. And Matt was saying, my partner Matt was saying, you're an idiot. Like, what are you doing? So what I did is I made this, I got dressed up in all my retro, like a beautiful retro dress.
Yeah.
I have like all wardrobes full of retro dresses that I've got made out of 50s bed sheets and stuff like that. So I had one of my beautiful retro dresses, my retro headband.
Yeah.
And I made two signs. So the vendor originally said, no, it's 3.5. And I just didn't want to spend US 3.5.
Yeah.
So I made these big signs, and I did in big letters. It's 1 for the money, 2 for the show. Sell me this house, baby. Don't say no. And I was literally like shaking the sign. And then I made this other sign. So I did that little video. Yeah. And then I did this other sign. Please sell me this house. I will restore it back to its former glory. I will not like rip it apart. I want to share this house with generations to come, that everybody can experience this beautiful house. Yeah. I'll do the right thing. Like it was like literally this whole big poster. And I literally like stood out the front of the house, took photos of it.
This is like Love Actually meets Elvis.
I know, it's crazy stuff, right? And I then sent those through to the real estate agent. He had a giggle. He was like, okay, I'll send it to. So I offered 2.4.
Yeah.
And he goes, look, I don't think they're going to do it, but look, I'll just try. Anyway, he sent the images, the videos, and the vendor said yes.
You're kidding.
No.
So then what happened?
So I was so excited. So I'd been dealing with a finance broker, and I'd bought 10 houses in America for my American show 5-day flip. So he said, yep, everything should be fine, no worries. You chuck in 20%. I think I had to chuck in 30%, and then they were going to lend me 70%. I thought, okay, I'll just pay that off long term. Yeah. Anyway, so I rang the broker, all super excited. Oh, the Elvis honeymoon house. And then he processed the loan application, and then he literally rang me, goes, we got a major problem. And I was like, what? And he goes, those 10 houses that you bought in Minnesota for your American show, they were done under a commercial loan, not a residential loan. So I had no established credit rating in America that we thought I had. And so he said, we can't lend you 20%. You're going to have to literally chuck in 70% cash and we can lend you 30. And I just, at that time, I couldn't scrape the money up. Like it was, you know, it would have
It's a lot of money.
And they eventually unsold it to somebody, and they did not do a good renovation job. But I spent hours, hundreds of hours in the National Archive. I found all the original photos of the House of Tomorrow.
That is heartbreaking.
Yeah, so I go now, every time I go to Palm Springs, I just literally stand out the front of that house still like some crazy lonely stalker going,
that lady's back again.
Yeah, it's that weirdo from Australia.
Cherie. I am learning so much from Cherie. We'll be back with more tips soon. This feels like a really good point to find out your mystery drawer item, because that story was so incredible.
Yes.
That I am curious.
All right.
What have you brought from your mystery drawer?
Well, I love everything from the 50s and 60s and
Yes.
70s. I would have brought my Chevy in, but I can't fit it on this table,
That's
right?
big.
So the next best thing is... Away you go.
I know what this is.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought maybe it's a generation gap here between me and you. I wasn't sure if you'd know what that is.
Not at all. This takes me back to my childhood.
Yep, that's exactly why I've got it.
So everybody who's listening, share with them, what have you brought in?
So I've brought in an original telephone from the 1970s. So this is before iPhones come out. This is how people used to communicate. Remember the dial?
Let's do the... Which... Have we got the ASMR going here?
Yeah, and then you wait for the... Do you know why I love this? Because this is... And yellow's my favourite colour. So we had this exact telephone, not this particular one, but the exact yellow colour when I was growing up. And I remember using this telephone to dial my grandparents.
Oh.
And so there was something nice about having a telephone like this, dialing.
Yeah.
It was actually fun dialing the numbers.
Yes.
And then just sort of there waiting for them to answer. And because like now we have our iPhones, you're so distracted. I don't know if you're like me, Elle, but like I'll be multitasking. I'll be on the phone, like I'll be like getting groceries out of the car or, checking something. So you'll be blah, 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 but you're multitasking. Whereas back in those days,
you had to stay in one spot.
yeah, you were just like...
It was a slow dial.
You couldn't move from the kitchen bench, which is where this this was always. So you were like focused on the conversation, that art of communication back then. And I love this because Peter Walsh gave this to me. So this actually came from a homeowner on Space Invaders when they were decluttering. They didn't want it. So Peter, he knows I love everything from the 50s, 60s and 70s. So he grabbed this for me. He took it back home. He cleaned it like in pristine condition over a couple of days. And then he brought it to set and I almost like weed my pants. So I was so excited.
Gosh, this is gorgeous.
So that's on my big media wall with all my other 50s and 60s and 70s memorabilia. I love it.
It is absolutely gorgeous. To you, what makes a home beautiful?
I think a space that you can come home and it doesn't have to be glamorous and it doesn't have to be expensive and it doesn't have to be large. A space where you come home and as soon as you walk through that door, you go,
exhale.
I'm just going to get in my pajamas, sloth around in my pajamas. You don't care what you look like. You've got things, little ornaments that trigger memories, family photos where you just look at those things. Your home truly doesn't need to be glamorous. It doesn't need to be designer. It can be the most simple house, but brings your family joy and it brings you closer together. That's for me is home.
Yeah. Well, Cherie, you've brought me joy today.
Oh, thank you. With all my crazy stories.
With all your crazy stories. These are the best. I can't wait to retell some of these. Honestly, it's been so much fun and we can't wait to see more of the farmhouse.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So it'll be finished hopefully December 17th. Nothing like a deadline.
Nothing like a deadline. We'll be watching.
Thank you so much.
I had so much fun chatting with Cherie about the farmhouse. Her advice about personalising colour palettes but tailoring the floor plan to suit the suburb is absolute gold. I also really admire the way she separates emotion from the build, but she still has fun along the way. We'll pop some links in the show notes for more of Cherie's excellent renovating advice. If you enjoyed this chat, tell your friends and subscribe to Home Beautiful on YouTube or follow us on your favourite podcast app so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time.
This is an R Media podcast.